Hey y'all! Back with another video log. This one's gonna be a little bit different. It's Monday. Happy Labor Day. Not sure when I'll upload this, so maybe it won't be Monday. But it's about a week post show, and I kind of wanted to talk about that and also tie my eating disorder history and kind of the lifelong, struggle that I've had to deal with into this. And I wanted to talk about that for a while, but it just never felt right to just talk about it without any context. And I feel like it definitely ties into how I handle the post show period. And I feel like a lot of people can probably relate to that. So hopefully this can help and show you that I go through a lot of the same things that everyone else does. So here goes. The first memory I have of dieting was at 8 years old. I started, this is so uncomfortable to talk about. I don't think I've ever done this on social media or a video or anything, but so this is kind of a ramble. Sorry. But so anyway, so I used to ride horses competitively, and I just remember after a horse show distinctly, I'd eaten what I considered too many Kudo bars. I don't know if you guys remember those, but they're like way better chewy bar. And I had no outside influence on my eating disorder. Nothing was driven by the media. I barely watched TV, didn't look at magazines, wasn't on the internet. My family had very normal eating patterns. My family wasn't dieting. They didn't ever push being thin or dieting on me. Nobody ever bullied me. Nobody told me I was fat. It was all internal. So the same reason I started to diet was an internal thing. The reason I thought all these things were also internal. A lot of my friends growing up were very petite, and I was, just very normal size. So I just always felt bigger than them. So I wasn't saying to myself, oh, I need to diet, because I don't know if I really knew what that was at that point. But I just thought, oh, if I eat less, then maybe I'll get smaller. And I found a tape measure, and I kind of put two and two together, okay, if I eat less and I do more, then maybe this will go down. So at a very young age, I understood that concept. And so it started very small, and then like any kind of, eating disorder, it escalated to a very unhealthy level, and to the point where, my life was consumed by the eating disorder. And it was probably at the peak, I would say, around seventh and eighth grade. I couldn't leave the house without doing 500 or 600 sit-ups. I wouldn't do a lot of social things because that would involve food. I was constantly counting calories, my calories, other people's calories, just looking at food and obsessing over it. And I got help at a point where I was very low in my life, but I got help, and obviously I'm not anorexic anymore. But those feelings and those tendencies don't just go away. And when I was getting into competing, a lot of people actually were nervous about that, because they thought, oh, this is just a way to cover the eating disorder. And I was like, no, you actually have to eat to fuel training. So I understood that it was completely different, and actually getting into competing was not for my eating disorder at all. So it was actually a healthier thing for me. But the tendencies of somebody who has an eating disorder is, black and white, type A, perfectionist, all those things, they don't just go away. And they can kind of evolve into other things. So for me, how this kind of ties into the dieting and post-show period is I've almost had a lifetime of dietary restriction. I guess you could say that's a little dramatic, but at a very young age, I've consciously restricted food, and I've kind of always done that. Even when I had gotten better, I was still always very healthy, very conscious. I ran track and cross country, so I was always very, very active, but I was very strict with what I ate. And then obviously moving into competing, that took on a whole nother level. And so for me, tracking for a show can be very exhausting. I'm somebody who likes structure, but then at the same time, there's the other part of me that likes no structure. So after a contest prep, when I've been on my macros and I had that goal in my face, it's very, very, it's not easy. Definitely competing and competition prep is not easy, but that's the easier part for me instead of afterwards. So after, I had all plans of last week being the perfect reverse, and every day was going to be perfect, and I was going to hit my numbers perfectly. And so that's the problem, is as soon as it's not perfect, then I have an issue. And then I'm like, oh, whatever, I'm already over. Oh. And this week was a lot better than I have handled other reverses and other post show weeks, because this time I didn't just have like a free for all. I did have a plan, and I did set up several meals, and I would usually just go over, but it was completely different than last time. But it was still, again, not the perfect reverse. So the crazy little person inside of me is very upset over that. And I know a lot of people can definitely relate. I would say. I see a lot of people kind of talk about this, and then a lot of people don't talk about this, but I know they go through it. And it's really uncomfortable to talk about, because who wants to talk about being crazy? Who wants to talk about, oh, I looked fabulous at the show and now I just want to eat. And I would consider myself someone who is almost a weight regain specialist. That's what I've dedicated graduate school to, is studying weight regain. And that's why I am so passionate about it. And that's why, because of my, eating disorder and how my life has gone. And that is why my research is all surrounded by that. And a lot of the literature I read is about weight regain and how to limit that, and the psychology behind it, and how everything influences it. But so for me, I would consider myself, oh, I know what's going on, and I literally know what is happening, but it's still hard for me. So I think sometimes people think that just because you either are a pro or you've competed, you don't go through these things. I go through all the same post-show bullshit that everyone else does. I've definitely honed in on it better this time than I have in the past, but it still is by no means perfect. Again, bad word to use. Just the semantics of that word can kind of throw someone like me, or anyone who's very goal-driven, perfectionist-driven, into a tailspin. So, but it's a fresh week, and you know what? I just kind of move past it and not let all of that get me down, because that's not going to help anything. So I have to look at the positives of, I was on top of my training, I was on top of my cardio, I followed things pretty well, and I went over, but it wasn't nothing was a free-for-all. It wasn't horrible like that. But it can be discouraging, because you want to look how you look on stage, but that is completely unreasonable. So now I'm just going to take this week head on, and if anyone has just competed or is going to compete, I hope you listen to this and see that, look, other people do struggle with this. It's not just you. So some tips I would say for, post-show, enjoy that weekend, have the things you've been craving, but really try to have a plan for the week after. And the biggest thing is be flexible with the plan. And I can preach it all day long. Trust me, it is so easy to say to this camera, be flexible with your plan. And even I struggle with it. Don't worry. So I know it's going to be difficult, because as most competitors, you want to follow everything to the T or not at all. But really, really try to be flexible with your plan and really stay on top of your training. Use that extra food. That's one thing that I'm usually really good about. Use the extra food to have some really great workouts, and that will definitely, make you feel better and kind of keep things moving. Overeating and not training is definitely a recipe for disaster. So try to be flexible with your plan, have a plan in the first place, and make sure you keep training. So hopefully this wasn't too much of a ramble, and I hope, like I said, this can help some people, because I know we all go through this, and I just wanted to keep it real with everyone. As hard as this was for me to make, hopefully it was good for you. So have a great week, and happy Labor Day. Bye.